Your parents, teachers, and society programmed you with the biggest lie ever told about success, that you need to be ready before you start. They convinced you that preparation is more important than action, that planning beats doing, and that you should wait until you have all the answers before taking the first step. This toxic mindset has destroyed more potential than all the failures in human history combined while you're getting ready to get ready. Mediocre people with inferior skills are building the life you dream about. They're not smarter, more talented, or luckier than you. They just understand something you don't. Imperfect action beats perfect inaction every single time. The education system taught you to study first, then act. But real life rewards those who act first, then learn from the results. Stop being a professional student of your own life and start being an amateur practitioner. Right now, somewhere in the world, two people are looking at the exact same mountain. One person sees an impossible climb, thinks about all the equipment they don't have, all the training they haven't done, and walks away defeated before taking a single step. The other person sees that same mountain, takes one step forward, then another, and begins the journey that will change their life forever. The difference between these two people isn't talent, money, connections, or luck. The difference is understanding one simple truth that separates achievers from dreamers. Small steps are always better than no steps. You see, most people have this backwards. They think they need to make giant leaps to create change in their lives. They believe success requires massive action, perfect timing, and extraordinary circumstances. So they wait, they plan, they research, they prepare, and while they're doing all this preparing, life passes them by. But here's what successful people know that others don't. Every single achievement in human history started with one small step. The person who built $1 million business made their first sale for $5. The marathon runner who crosses the finish line took their first running step around the block. The author who writes best-selling books wrote their first paragraph on a napkin. This isn't just motivational talk. This is how change actually works in the real world. Let me tell you about Jennifer, a woman I met at one of my seminars. She worked in accounting, hated her job, and dreamed of starting her own consulting business. For 3 years, she talked about it, she researched, she made business plans, she attended networking events. But she never started because she felt she wasn't ready. She needed more money saved, more contacts, more experience, more everything. Then one day, something shifted. Instead of waiting for the perfect moment, she made one phone call to a small business owner she knew, not to sell anything, just to ask if they needed help with their books for one afternoon. That single phone call led to a small project. That small project led to a referral. That referral led to another client. Within 18 months, Jennifer had left her job and was running a successful consulting practice. What changed? She stopped waiting for giant steps and started taking small ones. The human brain is wired to resist big changes. When you think about completely transforming your life, your mind immediately starts listing all the reasons why it won't work. This is called the amygdala hijack, and is designed to keep you safe by avoiding risk. But small steps fly under the radar of this mental security system. Your brain doesn't see small actions as threatening, so it doesn't resist them. This is why the person who decides to exercise for 2 minutes every morning succeeds, while the person who plans to work out for 2 hours crashes and burns. The brain accepts small changes because they don't trigger the fear response. But here's where it gets interesting. Once you start taking small steps, something magical happens. Each small action creates momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence leads to bigger actions. Bigger actions create better results. Better results fuel more momentum. It becomes a positive cycle that feeds on itself. Think about pushing a car. The hardest part is getting it to move from a complete stop. You have to use all your strength just to get the wheels turning. But once it starts rolling, even a child can keep it moving. Success works the same way. The hardest part is starting. Everything after that gets easier. Most people never experience this momentum because they never start. They're waiting for conditions to be perfect. They want to see the whole staircase before taking the first step. But life doesn't work that way. You can't see the top of the mountain from the bottom, but you can see the next rock to step on. The compound effect of small actions is one of the most powerful forces in personal development. When you do something small consistently, the results multiply over time. Read 10 pages of a good book every day, and in a year you've read 3.65 pages, equivalent to about 12 books. That's enough knowledge to transform how you think and act in any area of your life. Make one extra sales call per day, and in a year you've made 250 additional calls. Even with a modest closing rate, those extra calls could double your income, save $5 every day, and in 10 years you have over $18.00 plus interest. Learn one new word in a foreign language daily, and in a year you'll have a vocabulary of 365 words, enough to have basic conversations. The magic isn't in the individual action. The magic is in the consistency of small actions over time. But most people don't start because they think small steps don't matter. They look at successful people and assume they got there through dramatic gestures and overnight breakthroughs. What they don't see are the thousands of small steps that happened before the breakthrough became visible. Every expert was once a beginner. Every professional was once an amateur. Every icon was once an unknown. The difference is they started when they were none of these things. They took the first small step when they had no proof it would work, no guarantee of success, and no clear picture of how it would all turn out. Starting is an act of faith in yourself and your future. It's saying, I believe my small actions today will compound into something meaningful tomorrow. It's choosing progress over perfection, movement over planning, and action over analysis. The person who takes small steps every day will always outperform the person who takes no steps while planning the perfect big step. Because small steps taken consistently become big steps, and big steps taken consistently become extraordinary journeys. Your mountain is waiting. The question isn't whether you're ready to climb it. The question is whether you're ready to take the first step. Your brain is constantly changing, rewiring itself based on what you do repeatedly. Every time you take a small action, you're literally reshaping your neural pathways. This isn't just a nice metaphor, it's actual science happening inside your head right now when you do something new. Your brain creates a weak connection between neurons. Think of it like a tiny dirt path through a forest. The first time you walk on it, you can barely see the trail. But if you walk that same path every day for a week, it becomes more visible. Walk it for a month, and it becomes a clear walking path. Walk it for a year, and it becomes a highway. This is exactly what happens in your brain when you repeat small actions. Each repetition strengthens the neural pathway until the action becomes automatic. The person who writes one paragraph every morning isn't just building a writing habit. They're building a neural highway that makes writing feel natural and effortless. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, and it's one of the most encouraging discoveries in modern neuroscience. Your brain never stops changing. It doesn't matter if you're 20 or 60. You can still create new neural pathways through consistent small actions. But here's the key. Your brain responds much better to small, consistent actions than big, sporadic ones. When you try to make huge changes, your brain sees this as a threat and fights against it. But when you make tiny changes, your brain barely notices. So it doesn't resist. This explains why crash diets fail, but eating one less cookie per day works. Why spending 3 hours studying once a week is less effective than studying 15 minutes daily. why trying to completely reorganize your life in one weekend leads to burnout, but improving one small area each week leads to lasting transformation. The brain has a built-in reward system that releases dopamine when you complete tasks. This chemical makes you feel good and motivates you to repeat the behavior. But here's what most people don't know. The reward system responds better to small, frequent wins than big, infrequent ones. When you break a large goal into small steps, you get multiple dopamine hits as you complete each step. This keeps you motivated and makes the process enjoyable. But when you only reward yourself after completing massive goals, you go long periods without positive reinforcement, making it easy to give up. Let me tell you about Michael, a man who wanted to read more but could never stick to it. He tried reading one book per week, but after a few weeks, he'd fall behind and quit. Then he changed his approach. Instead of trying to read entire books, he committed to reading just one page per day. That single page took about 2 minutes. It was so small that his brain didn't resist it. But something interesting happened. Most days, after reading one page, he wanted to read more. Some days, he read just the one page and felt satisfied. Either way, he was reading consistently for the first time in years. After 6 months, Michael had read over 200 pages, equivalent to several books, more importantly. He had developed a reading habit that felt natural and sustainable. His brain had created a neural pathway that made reading feel automatic rather than forced. This is the power of what researchers call minimum effective dose, the smallest amount of effort that produces a meaningful result. When you find your minimal effective dose for any activity, you make it easy to start and hard to quit. 1% improvement principle works because small improvements compound over time. If you improve by just 1% every day, you'll be 37 times better after 1 year. This isn't just math, it's how real improvement happens in the real world. Professional athletes understand this. They don't try to improve their performance by 50% in one season. They focus on improving by tiny amounts in multiple areas. A sprinter might improve their start time by 0.01 seconds, their running form by 1%, and their recovery time by 2%. These small improvements add up to significant performance gains over time. The same principle applies to any area of your life. Want to improve your relationship? Start by giving your partner one genuine compliment daily. Want to advance your career? Learn one new skill, fact every day. Want to get healthier? Add one vegetable to your lunch every day. Small actions also work because they create what psychologists call behavioral momentum. Once you start doing something small consistently, it becomes easier to do slightly bigger things. The person who walks for 5 minutes daily finds it easier to eventually walk for 10 minutes. The person who saves $1 daily finds it easier to eventually save $5. Your brain is designed to seek patterns and create habits. When you repeat small actions consistently, you're working with your brain's natural tendencies rather than against them. You're using science to create the life you want, one small step at a time. The research is clear. Small, consistent actions create lasting change more effectively than big, sporadic efforts. Your brain is already equipped with everything you need to succeed. You just need to start using it correctly. The biggest enemy of progress isn't laziness or lack of talent. It's perfectionism disguised as high standards. Perfectionism tells you that if you can't do something perfectly, you shouldn't do it at all. This thinking has destroyed more dreams than failure ever could. Think about the last time you wanted to start something new. Maybe it was exercising, learning a skill, or starting a business. What stopped you? Chances are it wasn't that you couldn't take any action. It was that you couldn't take perfect action. so you took no action instead. This is the all or nothing trap. It convinces you that partial progress isn't real progress, that doing something small isn't worth doing, that unless you have 2 hours to work out, 5 hours to study, or perfect conditions to start your business, you might as well wait. But waiting for perfect conditions is like waiting for all the traffic lights to turn green before leaving your house. It's never going to happen. The all or nothing mindset comes from a fundamental misunderstanding about how success actually works. We see successful people at their peak and assume they got there through dramatic, perfect actions. We don't see the years of small, imperfect steps that built their success. Social media makes this worse. We see people's highlight reels and compare them to our behind-the-scenes struggles. The fitness influencer posting their perfect workout didn't show you the days they only did 5 push-ups. The successful entrepreneur sharing their victory didn't document the months when they could only work on their business for 15 minutes between their day job and family responsibilities. This creates unrealistic expectations about what progress should look like. We think we need to make dramatic changes or we're not really changing at all. But real change is usually boring, inconsistent, and imperfect. Consider Robert, a man who wanted to start his own landscaping business but felt trapped in his office job. He told himself he needed to save $50, 0 cents, create a perfect business plan, and quit his job before he could start. Years passed while he waited for these perfect conditions. Finally, his neighbor asked if he could help with their yard on weekends. Instead of saying he wasn't ready, Robert said yes. He borrowed tools and spent Saturday mornings doing landscaping work. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. That imperfect start led to more weekend clients. Those clients led to referrals. Within 2 years, Robert had enough weekend income to reduce his office hours. Within 3 years, he was running his landscaping business full-time without ever achieving those perfect starting conditions he thought he needed. The all or nothing mindset also creates what psychologists call binary thinking, seeing things as either complete success or total failure. But real life exists in the gray area between these extremes. The person who exercises twice this week instead of 5 times didn't fail. They succeeded twice. The student who studies for 20 minutes instead of 2 hours didn't waste their time. They learned something new. Successful people think in terms of good enough to get started rather than perfect enough to guarantee success. They understand that done is better than perfect and that progress beats perfection every single time. When you abandon the all or nothing mindset, you free yourself to make real progress. You can take imperfect action with imperfect tools at imperfect times. You can start before you're ready, learn as you go, and improve while you're doing. The person who reads for 10 minutes is a reader. The person who exercises for 5 minutes is an athlete. The person who writes 1 sentence is a writer. You don't need permission to start. Perfect conditions to begin. Or guaranteed results to take action. Your small, imperfect steps today are building the foundation for your future success. Stop waiting for perfect conditions and start creating progress with the conditions you have right now. Creating lasting change isn't about motivation. It's about building systems that work even when you don't feel like it. The most successful people don't rely on willpower to take action. They create simple systems that make small steps automatic and inevitable. Your daily minimum effective dose is the smallest action you can take that still moves you forward. This isn't about doing the bare minimum out of laziness. It's about finding the sustainable amount of effort that you can maintain consistently, even on your worst days. For exercise, your minimum might be 10 push-ups. For reading, it might be 1 page. For learning a new language, it might be 5 minutes with an app. The key is making it so small that you can't talk yourself out of it. When you have no excuse not to do it, you'll do it more often. The 2-minute rule takes this concept further. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Want to start meditating? Commit to 2 minutes of breathing exercises. Want to eat healthier? Spend 2 minutes preparing tomorrow's healthy snack tonight. Want to improve your skills? Read one article about your field for 2 minutes daily. 2 minutes feels insignificant, which is exactly why it works. Your brain doesn't resist something that small, but those 2 minutes create momentum. Most days, you'll naturally do more than 2 minutes once you start. Even when you don't, you've still maintained the habit. Tracking your progress is crucial, but most people do it wrong. They obsess over numbers and lose sight of the behavior itself. The best tracking systems are simple and focus on consistency rather than perfection. Use a calendar and put an X on every day you complete your small step. Your goal isn't to achieve a certain number or reach a specific target. Your goal is to not break the chain. This visual representation of your consistency becomes incredibly motivating over time. When you inevitably miss a day, resist the urge to quit entirely. This is where most people fail. They miss one day and think they've ruined everything, so they give up completely. But missing one day is a minor setback. Quitting because you miss one day is a major failure. Treat missed days like flat tires. You don't abandon your car because you got a flat tire. You fix it and keep driving. When you miss your small step, just start again the next day. Your consistency over weeks and months matters more than perfection over days. Consider Lisa, a busy mother who wanted to start a side business selling handmade crafts. She couldn't find large blocks of time to work on it, so she committed to spending just 15 minutes every evening after her children went to bed. Some evenings she only did market research. Other evenings she worked on one product. Some nights she just organized her supplies. Those 15-minute sessions seemed small, but they added up to 90 minutes per week, over 70 hours per year within 18 months. Lisa had built enough inventory and customer base to generate significant side income. Her small step system worked because it fit into her real life, not some idealized version of her schedule. Time management for small steps is different from traditional time management. You're not looking for empty hours, you're looking for empty minutes. 5 minutes while coffee brews, 10 minutes during lunch break, 15 minutes before bed. These small pockets of time exist in everyone's schedule. Make your small steps automatic by linking them to existing habits. After you brush your teeth, read 1 page. Before you check your phone in the morning, do 10 push-ups. When you sit down at your desk, write 1 sentence of your book. Building systems isn't glamorous, but it's effective. Your small step system will carry you forward when motivation fails, when life gets busy, and when obstacles arise. Success isn't about giant leaps. It's about creating systems that ensure you keep moving forward, one small step at a time. Success isn't a destination you arrive at. It's a way of traveling through life. When you truly understand that, small steps are better than no steps. You don't just change what you do, you change who you become. You transform from someone who waits for the right moment into someone who creates the right moments through consistent action. The most powerful aspect of living the small steps philosophy is how it changes your relationship with time. Most people think in terms of weeks, months, or years. They want quarterly results, annual achievements, and decade-long transformations. But small step thinkers understand that life is built in days, hours, and minutes. They know that what you do today, repeated consistently, becomes your future. This shift in perspective is revolutionary. Instead of asking, what can I achieve this year, you start asking, what can I do today that will compound over time? Instead of planning perfect futures, you focus on making imperfect progress right now. Let me share with you the complete story of David Martinez, a man whose life perfectly demonstrates the transformative power of small steps. 5 years ago, David was stuck in every area of his life. He worked as a customer service representative at a call center, earned barely enough to cover his bills, lived in a small apartment he couldn't afford to leave, and felt completely trapped by his circumstances. David had big dreams. He wanted to start his own marketing consulting business, get in better physical shape, move to a nicer place, and maybe even write a book about his experiences. But every time he thought about these goals, they felt overwhelming. He didn't have the money to start a business, didn't know enough about marketing to consult others, hadn't exercised in years, and had never written anything longer than an email. So, like most people, David did nothing. He continued working his job, watching television in the evenings, and dreaming about a different life that seemed impossible to reach. Then David attended a seminar where he learned about the small steps philosophy. The speaker challenged the audience to pick one area of their life and commit to taking one small step every single day for 30 days. David decided to focus on learning marketing skills. His small step was simple: read one article about marketing every day during his lunch break. That's it. No courses to buy, no degrees to pursue, no perfect plan required, just one article per day. The first week felt insignificant. David read articles about social media marketing, email campaigns, and customer psychology. The information was interesting, but he couldn't see how it was changing anything meaningful in his life. But David kept his commitment. Every day, one article. By the end of the first month, he had consumed 30 pieces of marketing content. More importantly, he had proven to himself that he could commit to something and follow through. The second month, David added a second small step. While continuing to read one article daily, he also started writing one paragraph every evening about what he had learned. This forced him to process the information more deeply and began building his writing skills without him even realizing it. Month 3 brought another small addition. David began reaching out to one small business owner per week through LinkedIn, not to sell anything, but simply to ask questions about their marketing challenges. Most didn't respond, but a few did, and these conversations gave David real-world insights he couldn't get from articles alone. 6 months into his small steps journey, something interesting happened. A small restaurant owner David had connected with mentioned they were struggling with their social media presence. Instead of saying he wasn't qualified to help, David offered to create a simple content plan for free just to practice what he had been learning. That free project led to a small paid project. The paid project led to a referral. The referral led to another client. Within 1 year of starting his daily reading habit, David was earning an extra $500, 0 cents per month from freelance marketing work. But the transformation went beyond income. The confidence David gained from succeeding with small steps spilled over into other areas of his life. He applied the same philosophy to fitness, starting with 5 push-ups every morning, to personal finance, saving $2, 0 cents per day in a jar, to his living situation, spending 10 minutes each evening looking at apartment listings online. Each small step built momentum for the next. The push-ups became a 20-minute morning workout routine. The $2, 0 cents daily savings grew into an emergency fund that gave him the confidence to take bigger risks. The apartment research led him to find a better place he could afford with his increased income. 18 months after starting his journey, David reduced his call center hours to part-time. 24 months later, he left his job entirely to focus on his marketing consultancy. 36 months after reading his first marketing article, David was running a 6-figure business from his new apartment, had lost 30 pounds, and had started writing a book about building a business through small daily actions. The most remarkable part of David's story isn't the external changes, though those are impressive. It's the internal transformation. David became a different person through the accumulation of small actions. He developed unshakable confidence because he had proven to himself thousands of times that he could commit to something and follow through. This is what living the small steps philosophy really means. It's not just about achieving goals. It's about becoming the type of person who achieves goals. When you take small steps consistently, you build what psychologists call self-efficacy, the belief in your ability to influence events that affect your life. Every small step you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. Miss a workout, and you vote for being out of shape. Write one page, and you vote for being a writer. Make one sales call, and you vote for being successful in business. Your identity is shaped by your repeated actions, no matter how small they seem. The ripple effects of small steps extend far beyond your personal achievements. When you start living this philosophy, you become an example for others. Your family sees that change is possible. Your friends notice your consistent progress. Your colleagues witness your steady improvement. You inspire others simply by showing what's possible. When someone commits to small, daily actions, this is how you create a legacy, not through grand gestures or dramatic moments, but through the quiet consistency of doing what matters, even when it's difficult, even when you don't feel like it, even when no one is watching. The transformation that awaits you isn't just about reaching your goals. It's about discovering who you become in the process of reaching them. It's about building unshakable confidence, developing mental toughness, and creating momentum that carries you through any challenge life presents. Your future self is counting on the decisions you make today. The person you'll be 1 year from now is being shaped by the actions you take in the next 24 hours. You have the power to transform your life, starting right now with one small step. Stop waiting for permission, perfect conditions, or guaranteed outcomes. Start where you are, with what you have, doing what you can. Take the first small step today. Then take another one tomorrow, and another the day after that. Your extraordinary life is waiting on the other side of ordinary small steps. The question isn't whether small steps will transform your life. The question is, what small step will you take today to begin that transformation? The choice is yours, the time is now, the step is small, but the impact will be life-changing.